Alright, today we're going to be talking about Yisan the Wanderer Bard. Yisan the Wanderer Bard is a creature that I had a lot of fun building a deck around, and whenever I was trying to learn him, I was watching videos on YouTube, and they all taught me nice stuff like how to Yisan trick and little tips, but they never really showed me what it's like to play Yisan, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. But before I do that, I'm first going to introduce you to Yisan and how you play his deck. So Yisan, his ability lets you go search for a creature equal to his verse counters. So if we look at our MTG Goldfish, we can see what mana values each creature has. So in your 1, you can look for your 1s, 2, you can look for the 2, 3, you can look for the 3, etc., etc. And so Yisan's ability is unique because you put a verse counter on him and you tap him, but you don't have to actually search right away. What you can do is, say you already have one of your untappers out on the battlefield, you can then untap him before his ability resolves, and then retap him again. And then that makes it so whenever the abilities resolve, it'll see that he has. So for instance, I have 1 counter on him already, right? I use Kiron Ranger to untap, so I tap him, he goes to 2 counters. I use Kiron Ranger to untap him, he goes to 3 counters. But now when the abilities resolve, instead of grabbing a 2 mana and a 3 mana, I grab 2 3 manas. And I'll show that here. Actually, I'm going to show you in the playtest right now what that looks like. So, say we have Yisan out, right? Yisan has a counter on him. We'll go grab Kiron Ranger real quick. Kiron Ranger. So, Kiron Ranger says return a forest to your hand, right? And you can untap target creature. Say we have all the mana we need. We have 100 mana floating. It's not going to happen right now, but like, just say you did. You then tap him, add a counter, but before the ability resolves, you then return the forest to your hand, untapping him, and then this lets you retap him again with another counter. But because his abilities resolve, saying it looks at the amount of counters on him, you can now go grab 2 3 manas. So you could grab Circle of Dreams Druid, and then another 3 mana like Hyrax Tower Scout, just another untapper. But yeah, you go grab 2 3 manas instead of grabbing a 2 mana and then a 3 mana, and it lets you get overall more worth out of Yisan. So, one thing about Yisan is it's a very complicated deck to run. And so if you need to learn the combos, I suggest using this thing called MTG Commander Salt. And you can go to the combos tab and it teaches you all the combos, how to activate them, what they do. And I have found it very useful, and I also suggest you use this, especially if you're looking at the Yisan deck, because Yisan has so many options and it can go crazy sometimes. And then another thing about Yisan is you're partially a stacks commander. So Yisan's ability doesn't need to be activated on your turn. Actually, the main thing you're going to do with it is activate it on your opponent's turn. Because usually you expect the blue players to be like, in response, I'll counterspell, whatever, right? But Yisan, you're going to be the person who goes, in response, I'm going to tap Yisan, and I'm going to go look for blah, blah, blah. And so you want to have stacks in your deck, because say an Ob Nixilis is popping off, and you know they're about to play a lot of stuff from exile, you can then tap Yisan, and if you have the 2 verse counters on him, you can go look for Soulless Jailer. Instantly, at instant speed, out on the battlefield, Ob Nixilis gets shut off. And same thing goes, you get Phyrexian Revoker is another one, Dose on the Falling Leaf if someone's about to go crazy on your turn, you don't want them to play spells during your own turn, you know. And so this is going to be a very helpful thing, is knowing your stacks, because you need to know whenever, situationally, what stacks you're going to do. Anyway, let's get into the deck, let's see what we can do. So this is a pretty strong hand. We have Gaia's Cradle in hand, Kiron Ranger, Boreal Druid, and we have stacks pieces. This is a very strong hand. So we'll draw for turn, right? We also get, now we have one of our removal, because green doesn't have a lot of removal, so you need a little bit of removal or fight cards, since you don't have those kill target creatures. So this turns them into it makes them lose all abilities. Some of the other cards in this make them fight another creature, but yeah. Anyway, for this turn, you're gonna start this off tapping to get Boreal Druid. Good little strong start. Next turn comes by. Now here's where you can Gaia's Cradle. Now you have 3 mana to now cast Yisan, but I would suggest tapping this for Kiron Ranger. Then no, because you can't. Oh yeah, no, that still works. Yeah, tapping this Kiron Ranger. Tap this, you get 2 mana. Tap this for your other Yisan Wanderer Bard. Turn 2 with an untapper ready to go. Very strong start. So then we'll go next turn. This turn we'll play our land for turn, and now we have a lot of mana. We have 1, 3, 1. So that's 5 mana, or 6 mana including Boreal Druid, and we have an untapper. And so this is where you're going to Actually, there's no point in not doing this. Tapping this to get Allosaurus Shepherd. So, now you have a really strong state. What you're going to do here is you're going to pass turn. And you might be like, why am I passing turn? I have so much mana available. But you'll see. So, we're going to pass turn here. And then in our opponent's end step, they say, you'll go in response, I'll tap Gaia's Cradle for 4 floating mana, tapping Yisan, adding a counter. And now you can choose to either go look for another 1 mana drop, or, because you have Kiran Ranger, you could untap him to go look for 2 2-mana drops. And so your 1 mana drops are going to be your elves. They give you some really nice stacks pieces, or not stacks pieces, ramp. Your 2 is where you have a majority of your power. This is where you have your stacks pieces. This is where you also have like Priest of Titania, and you have a lot of just strong cards in your number 2 area. So what I'm going to do here is I don't really need another elf. So what I'm going to instead do is, before I resolve his trigger, use Kiran Ranger to bounce this forest to my hand, untapping him. Now I still have 1 mana floating from earlier from Gaia's Cradle. I tap, I re-tap him for 2. Now then, the ability resolves for the first time. It sees that he has 2 counters on him. I go search for a 2 mana drop. I'll look for Hope Tender. Then, the second time, then the original trigger goes off. It looks, it sees that he has 2, and I go look for another 2. So I'll look for Priest of Titania. And then now, these 2 are summoning sick, but this is in your opponent's end step. So when you go to your turn, they are no longer summoning sick. And now this is turn 4, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana from Priest of Titania, 6 mana from Gaia's Cradle, so that's 10 mana overall. You get 11 mana, 12 mana, and then you have Hope Tender to untap your lands to get even more. And you might be like, okay, well now I'm in this spot, how do I win? Well, I'm about to show you. You're gonna have to play land for turn. Here's where you can, yes, you can win on this turn. So you don't even need a, this is not going to be one of the options where you pass turn. Instead, you're going to win on this turn. You'll tap Gaia's Cradle for 6 mana floating. With that 6, you'll tap him looking for 1. You'll go and grab Hyrax Tower Scout. Hyrax Tower Scout comes in, untaps Yisan. Your other 3 mana that's floating, you re-tap him, going to look for a 4 mana drop. Now then, your 4 mana drop will go off. So let's see what 4 mana drops we want to get. We can either get Argothian Elder, or Karmashra's Acolyte, or Temur Sabertooth, or Yeva, and those are all really strong. And so here, you could just look for Karmashra's Acolyte, get really overpowered stuff here. Argothian Elder is also strong. Temur Sabertooth lets you bounce. But instead, what I think I'm going to do here is, because this is where you have to start thinking, you have to math it out in your head. Yeah. We'll go look for Kamashra's Acolyte, because overall it gets us, actually no, Temur Sabertooth gets us the best overall, because it allows us to bounce creatures. So we don't need more mana, we just want to bounce creatures. And so we can now bounce a creature with Temur Sabertooth. But instead we'll tap this for a mana, goes back to our hand, untap him, we have a floating mana, we'll then tap and tap to get another tap onto Yisan, looking for our 5 mana drop, and we're going to grab the best combo piece in this deck, Ashaya, Soul of the Wind. Ashaya says that every creature is a land in addition to their other types. Hope Tender is now a land, which means Hope Tender can untap themselves. What's also a land is Gaia's Cradle, or, well, that's obvious as a land, but also Priest of Titania. And so here, you go infinite with either or. You can now, so you have a mana, you can now tap Priest of Titania. You get a mana for each elf you have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 elves. And then with one of those, you tap Hope Tender. Hope Tender now gets to untap 2 target lands. And you do this for infinite mana. But now, how do you win from here? You have infinite mana, but you have no way to really get cards. Well, you're wrong in that instance, because Yisan, because of Ashaya, is also a land. So after you make your infinite mana, you can now tap her with 1 mana untap 2 lands, and then you can tap Yisan again, and go look for a 6-mana drop. In your 6-mana drop, you're going to go look for Woodland Bellower. When Woodland Bellower enters the battlefield, you get to go put a mana cost 3 or less onto the battlefield. So then you're going to go and look for Duskwatch Recruiter. Duskwatch Recruiter comes out, and Duskwatch Recruiter lets you pump 3 mana into him, look at the top 3 cards of your library, and then you can reveal them and you can reveal a creature from them, put it into your hand, and put the rest into the bottom of your library. And so now with your infinite mana, you can now pump this infinitely till you draw every creature. And you're going to do that until you draw Walking Ballista. Which I saw a bunch of Yisan decks that didn't have this card, and I was like, why? Why? You're winning by combat with Craterhoof, but why could you do that when you can just Walking Ballista, play Walking Ballista from your hand, a gajillion, you win the game, turn 4, with an absolutely stacked board state. This is how you play Yisan, a very fun deck. Learn the combos with MTG Salt, I really suggest that, and yeah, have a good rest of your day. Bye.